Welcome to Financial Ginger. I'm your host, Jacob Johnson. First, we've got a Utah ID and driver's license update. So, fun story. I got hit by a driver about 2 years ago. They didn't have a driver's license. They had a Panama passport. I thought that was a problem because you're supposed to have a driver's license to drive. But after the accident, the cops let him drive away. Found out he can get a ticket for that, but it's a whole process to do something about it. So a new House bill, HB 136 here in Utah, will let police impound your car if you do not have a valid driver's license. So Representative Matt McPherson from West Valley City is one of the bill's is the bill's sponsor. And here's kind of a little splurge he said about it. In special jurisdictions like West Valley, we've had reports from the last year showing about 36% of DUIs and 45% of hit and runs were from individuals that have never had a driver's license of any kind. So HB 136 is supposed to make it to where if you get in an accident or something like that, right, and don't have a driver's license, they can impound your car. Temporary prison time or jail time or whatever that process looks like. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Should you write representatives? Let me know what you think. Today on the podcast, I am very excited. We have Brett Huntington. He is a budgeting and finance coach. Do you wish you could stop living from paycheck to paycheck? Brett is a personal finance coach who specializes in getting couples who are living paycheck to paycheck to get into a system that allows them to break free from that trap. He helps couples design a lifestyle by proactively planning instead of reacting to everyday life, build a budget system for intentional spending so they can afford to create more memories. Brett's goal is to help people stress less and live a life of meaning with their finances in their control. Welcome to the podcast, Brett.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Excited to have you. What do you think? The intro okay?
That was perfect. Man, I'm actually going to steal that from you.
I'll send it to you afterwards.
Okay,
I think it was
great.
I just looked at your website for a while, and obviously I've been looking at your Facebook posts, and I just think they're wonderful, which is why I've DM'd you like 6 times being like, hey, can you come on my podcast, please? Because I think it's fascinating. So my degree was in financial planning, and then of course I got into insurance. So I've been doing that for 7 years instead of finance. So I love budgeting and investing and stuff. But I find that usually the problem is people either spend inappropriately or their lifestyle creep or inflation or whatnot. So I'm excited to talk about this. I suppose the first question I should really ask is, why is budgeting important?
So, okay. I think why is budgeting important? I think there are so many misconceptions about budgeting. There's so much just in our society, like the feeling towards budgeting is negative. Budgeting's a bad thing. Budgeting sucks.
It's a 4-letter word.
Yes. Yeah. I call it the B word. It's like, Jacob, don't say the B word on this podcast, man. That's a bad word.
Oops, sorry.
But like the reality is it's almost like traditional dieting. It's like, okay, I am going to cut out sugar for this week. I'm going to cut carbs. I'm going to cut whatever it is. And then after this week's over, I know I'm going to go make up for lost time. I'm going to go make up for all those carbs I missed out on and probably more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way that we look at budgeting. So one of the biggest things for me is really like, why is budgeting important? That really is the way that we make our money not just last throughout the month, but also we make room for the goals that we have. I think the biggest thing is we all have goals. We have aspirations. We have these things we want to do. But we're so busy living paycheck to paycheck that those things are getting put on the back burner. They're being put on hold. For me, like, that sucks. I hate that. It's like, if I'm going to go work 40 hours a week, I'm going to go work really hard. I want to feel like I'm moving towards the life that I want to live. I don't want to feel like I'm just barely making it every single month. I'm just barely making it to the end of the month by the skin of my teeth, and I'm so stressed out. I want to get to the end of the month and be like, okay, I just put this much money away towards this vacation, this much towards retirement, this much towards, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm building towards something to creating that life that I'm super excited to live.
Yeah. Well, I found particularly fascinating is, right, you generally are working with people that make 6 figures, right? People that make 100, 150, maybe 200,000. And you'd be surprised how many people that are like that, and maybe someone listening, right, are living paycheck to paycheck. Because what normally happens in my experience, and I do remember a few things from my coaching days. So I worked at the counseling center at UVU, the Financial Counseling Center. So a lot of like students and newlywed couples.
Cool.
But a lot of people, when their income starts to grow, that lifestyle inflation comes in. It's like, oh, I make a little bit more money. I can go buy a fancier car and have a bigger car payment.
Yeah.
Right. Or, oh, I've got a little extra money. I can just spend more monies on the weekends, or I can shop on Amazon more. And it's like, if you don't control your money will control you.
Yes.
Right. So you have to have a system, whatever it is. And the B word is probably the best way to at least get started in managing your money.
It is.
Yeah.
And one thing I do like to clarify with my like personal philosophy is when your income grows, it's totally okay to spend more money, but it has to be a conscious decision. If you're single, it's one of those things where I'm consciously making this decision. Yes, I'm going to spend more money. If you're married, you and your spouse are consciously making this decision. Yes, this is worth spending more money on. That's the biggest thing for me, where traditional budgeting really is all about cutting back. It's all about restricting your spending. For me, it's really just about being more intentional and understanding what your priorities are and making sure that that's where your money's going. Because that, for me, that's the biggest thing, is like people I talk to, they're like, okay, I know I spend a lot of money on XYZ. I already know that. So you don't need to tell me that.
Yeah.
When we dive into it, they're just like, holy cow. I knew I spent a lot, but I didn't know it was that much. And so it's not my place to tell them, yeah, you're spending too much. It's their decision where they're like, I'm not comfortable with that. I work so hard to earn this money. I don't want to spend the money in the way that I'm spending it. So it's just like another, I guess, way to think about budgeting is it's just information. We're just fact gathering. And once you have the facts, now you're able to make better decisions.
Yeah. Well, if you say, right, and you decide what's important to me, well, I want to retire. I want to be putting aside much money. Well, do you know how much money you need? Like, do you know how much you need in retirement to support the income you want? Right. Like, I'm actually planning to do a whole podcast about the basics of preparing for retirement.
Cool.
But right, it's like, oh, well, if you have this goal and you say it's important to you and your behavior doesn't match, you're going to feel malcontent.
Yes. Because
you're not actively, right? There's a misnomer between what you say you want and what you're actually doing. And it's usually just because you're not aware. Awareness is half the battle when it comes to budgeting. So just getting the numbers in there, for some people, that's enough to change some of their habits.
Yep.
Like my wife and I, when we first got married, we didn't really, coming from someone who budgeting, I always budgeted, but then I kind of stopped when we first got married. And so like for the first year, it was just like, wait, what's going on? And I was like, wait a second, I'm a financial planner. Why? Like, I should know this. So we sat down and we created our budget and we went over things, and there were adjustments along the way, and we still have adjustments. But right, when I first established that, and I was early in my career, like my first year doing insurance, I made like $40,000, right? And then we got married, I made like 60 the year we got married, like which obviously is good money, but it's not as dramatic as it will be in the future. Because that was years ago, because we got married 5 years ago. But when we managed it, the first year that we did that, I was able to put $20,000 towards saving for retirement and preparing to buy our next house in 1 year. $20,000, right? Which you don't feel like is a lot, but we were spending that $20,000 in ways that weren't compatible with what we actually wanted. So just the awareness instantly changed some of our financial habits without even having to be told, oh, you're spending too much money on eating out. We didn't be told that. We looked at the numbers and said, oh crap, changed our behavior. Like,
exactly.
I think that's at least a good starting point.
I think that's a perfect example. Here's another example. So I've worked with people, like you said, who have made, less than six figures, teachers making $50,000, $60,000 a year. I've worked with families earning up to seven figures.
Wow.
And the conversation is always the same, where it's like, okay, we just need to understand, where is your money going? And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us have this idea. Even this family who was earning seven figures, their idea was, we just don't earn enough. Like, if I could just get to the next pay raise, or if we could just take our business to the next level, then we'd be okay. When in reality, as we're looking into the budget, into the numbers, they did identify areas where it's like, we are bleeding money here so badly. But I think, like you said, the awareness is step one. Once you understand something, it's like, okay, now we have facts that we can make a decision on. The second step, though, is, am I willing to do something about it? And I think, going back to what you said about, like, the house and the retirement. That was important for you guys. That's one of the biggest things I do with people starting out. We don't actually, our first meeting together, we don't even talk numbers. We talk about goals, because I think if you have things that are deeply meaningful to you and things that like, it's like, I really, really want this to happen, and I'm willing to like make changes to make this thing happen. For me, it's travel. Like my wife and I love to travel. My son, when he turned 1 year old, I think he'd been to Disneyland like 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
That's not an exaggeration.
You're wasting your money.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Like,
you're spending it on your priorities.
And that's exactly
That's
what it is.
super
It's
cool.
like we set aside money to go do those things. And for some, like for a lot of people, it's like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. I would never do that. And what I say is like, that's great. Like you shouldn't do that unless you love Disney as much as
you
I
don't
do.
prioritize that.
Yeah.
It's not the priority to you.
But it's like,
Yeah.
whatever your thing is, make sure it's deeply important to you. It's deeply meaningful. And then when we go dive into the budget and the numbers and we see where the money's going, now you can start making those educated decisions of like, okay, I don't like where I was spending my money, or, here's some extra money that maybe we could shift and put towards our vacation fund or towards our house or retirement, because that's more meaningful and important to me than what I was spending my money on before.
Yeah. And that is what creates change, right? Is having meaning. I don't know if you've ever read Dune or watched the movie Dune. Like the main character, he's always talking about how he's burdened by terrible purpose. And I love that feeling, right? It's like, and not terrible and like evil or difficult, right? It's like, it's just like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes feels terrible to like have such a pressing, but when you have your priorities, it becomes so much easier to change your financial habits because you're burdened by this goal and this dream or whatever. Or maybe it's, hey, I need this much money to get in my first house I've been renting for forever. Or I need this much money to pay off my student loans, and that will free me from debt. And then I can use my money other ways, or whatever it is that's priorities. If you care about it that much that you're willing to sacrifice to go to Disneyland 5 times in a year, right? Whatever it is, well, now it's easy to make changes because you're not fighting for, right? Like it's a different level of fighting. So I love that.
Yeah, it's almost like a higher level of fighting where it's like, now we're not arguing with each other about money. Now we're really trying to figure out what our priorities are. What is number one? What is number two? So it's, yes, I like what you're saying. It's like, it's not like we're fighting about money. Now it's like our priorities are just competing with each other, and we're trying to figure out, what do we truly prioritize?
I actually want to pull this up because my wife and I have our priorities.
Oh, okay.
So
I love this.
This is my actual budget I use. My wife and I, we track our monthly spending, our annual spending. We've got 3 meetings we do. So we do, well, it's not always weekly, but usually there's at least a touch point where we kind of like, hey, where are we at with things? Once a month, we kind of review all of our credit card statement stuff. And this is getting too much into the weeds, right? We don't need to worry about too much, but we have our goals. So our current like pressing goals is we want to be saving a certain percentage of our income for retirement. So that's a baseline goal. But our 4 like financial goals where it's like, hey, if we have an extra $300 at the end of the month, it's going towards this goal. We want to pay off our student loans completely. Our goal is to have that done by December of this year.
Dude,
so, yeah,
that's huge.
There's about a little over $30,000 of student loans that are going to be paid off by the end of the year. Sorry, honey, for saying that verbally to everyone that's listening. Then we have a goal to finish the basement of our condo. We want to finish the basement because we know when we eventually move into another house, we'll be able to rent it for higher. And it's also nice to have a place that's a little bit nicer. So that's one. And we have a timeline for it and like how much money we need. So like the goal is July of 2027 to have the money to finish that. And we had something recently where we might change the money we're saving for that. We're not directly putting in the student loans right now. We've got it saved aside because we might decide to finish the basement first, but we're talking about it. We've got options because we've made the goal.
Exactly.
And then we want to buy a new couch. And I don't know why, but we were like, if we're so disgusted and annoyed with this old couch we have, even though we could buy a new one for relatively cheap, it's like, it's that much more reminder every time we sit on that couch that we do not love, that, well, once we pay off the student loans and finish the basement, the next goal is buying a nice couch.
Yeah.
Because we go over to our sister-in-law's house and we also like have a neighbor. They've got like a really nice sectional where it's like a full, like 3 sides of a room. And we just got 2 love seat, well, a 3-seater and 2-seater. Like I'm like, oh, that's not aesthetic. It's not. So really nice couch. And then the last one is we want to buy a proper property with like land because we want to have fruit trees.
Oh.
We want to have a 1/2 acre garden, and I want chickens and maybe a cow if I can afford them. So those are our 4 big financial priorities is that. And it's motivating at the end of each month to review. And it's like, hey, we overspent in this category. Why? Okay, that was fine. Like, it's fine if we overspend compared to what we expected to do, but it's understanding what happened in that month, right? So anyways, wanted to share a little bit about that.
What's interesting though is even just watching you talk about it, it's like your face lights up. It's obvious you're excited about it. It's obvious that's motivating you. And that's where, for me, it's like, that's different than what my priorities are.
Yeah.
That's totally okay.
You don't want chickens in a 1/2 acre garden?
It's like, yeah, I don't want chickens. I don't want a cow. Like, unless it's like the cow's in my freezer, I don't want it. But like, what's cool though is that's important to you. It's obvious talking to you and seeing you say that. And like, I think that's the biggest thing is we all just have to figure out what that is for us.
Yeah.
That is the foundation of budgeting for me, which I think is weird. A lot of people are just like, wait, what? That's not budgeting. And it's like, if that's not where your budget starts, I can almost guarantee your budget will not last for more than a few months. Yeah. There are people out there who they can budget for budget's sake, but there are not many.
Yeah. It's gross.
Yes.
Budgeting sucks.
Yeah.
No one likes it.
It's not fun. In my free time, I don't just sit down and like, all right, let's budget 7 different ways. It's like, no, it's not something where I just think it's the most fun thing in the world.
Let's check my electrical bill over the last 3 years. Oh, it went up a little bit. Honey, we're turning the lights on too much. We're out of budget. Like, no. But you need a why that's powerful enough to motivate you to act.
Exactly it.
And if you don't have a why, then there's no point to budgeting. Who cares? If you're surviving and at least you're not like drowning in debt because of your lack of budgeting, who cares? If you don't have a goal, right? It's like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, right? She comes to this crossroad and the cat apparates and appears, Harry Potter term, apparates, right? And she's like, oh, well, where should I go? And the Cheshire Cat says, well, where do you want to go? She says, well, I don't know where I want to go. And it's like, well, then it doesn't matter where you go. Like, who cares what path you take? Because if you have no aim, you're not going to go where you want. So wander, and that's fine. Or as Napoleon Hill, sorry, I'm rattling so many things. Have you ever read Outwitting the Devil?
No.
By Napoleon Hill? Highly recommend it. He wrote it in like 1938 or something like that. And it wasn't published until like 2007 or 2008.
Oh, wow.
And it's just because it's like this interview he has with the devil, and he talks about people drifting because they're aimless and they don't have goals and they don't have a reason, a purpose, and aim, right? And he even takes it outside of the religious context. Like, if you don't have a goal or an aim, you're going to drift and wander, and that allows other things to become priorities. If you don't choose your priorities, it's just like budgeting. Your priorities will choose you, and you'll suddenly realize, oh, I'm spending all my money on XYZ. Anyways. Yeah.
That I will say the Alice in Wonderland thing, I say that so often because that's exactly what it is. If you don't know where you want to go, who cares what path you take? But on the flip side, if you know exactly where you want to go, I know what path to help you take. And I think that's the thing that I like is it's just another way to think about budgeting. It's just the path or the plan. It's like the structure to help you get to where you want to go. Another thing that I'll mention, another thing that I see a lot is these high earning people have credit card debt. Super, like, it's one of those things that it's such a shameful topic that we talk about. And when you see the statistics, it's like, okay, this X% of Americans have credit card debt. But when you talk to people, it's like, oh no, no one has credit card debt. No one wants to admit they've got it. And just because there's so much shame like tied to it, the thing that has been interesting talking to people about credit card debt, it's part of it is like just admitting it's like, okay, I have credit card debt. And I think a lot of people where it's like, well, it's only $5,000. It's only $10,000. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but on that 18.99% APR.
And honestly, that's probably in a like best case scenario.
Like 22, 24.
I've seen over 30%. Outrageous, like absolutely outrageous. Like I am working with someone right now who is still paying off their honeymoon.
Oh my gosh. How long have you been married? Like 5 years, 10 years?
I think 5 years.
Oh
and it's one of those things, again, like it's not something that it should be a shameful thing, but it's one of those things more where it's like, yeah, they regret that decision. And like, they just didn't know at the time. You know, it's just the ignorance thing. It's like, yeah, everyone puts stuff on their credit card and then you just pay it off when you can. And then you start to realize like, holy cow, this is suffocating, because now we've been making minimum payments and our balance is still the same. And so just another one of those things, like when people make that one of their priorities, it's not necessarily like a fun priority to be paying off the credit card debt, but it is one of those priorities that once they start to see progress and once they pay it off, you can just see,
it's like a drug.
Dude, it is. It's like a drug. It's addicting. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, what can I go pay off next? Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I need my hit. I need my fix.
Yes. And then it's like, okay, I've paid off all my debt. Well,
now
like, what can I invest in? Like, how can I get my money to start working for me now? My money's not working for the bank. Now it's working for me. Like, that's exciting.
So yeah, I buy that Visa and MasterCard stock because other people's debt, it's a profitable business. People are always like, oh, well, the credit cards make you 1% or 1.5% or 5% on this category. For it's like, yeah, you know, they're making money because most people still carry a balance, right? Yes. Or they're making money because they're charging, right, their credit card processing fees to Walmart or wherever you're shopping, which fine, it is what it is. But if you're carrying a balance at all, you're probably not making money off a credit card. It's not worth that 1%. Because you're paying fees. So yeah.
And that's what I tell people. If you pay even a penny in interest, like it's not worth it at all. The other thing though, and this is something that I think a lot of people don't recognize, but what credit card companies have done is they've separated the dopamine hit, the high of purchasing something, with the pain of actually paying for it. They've separated it by 45 plus days, right? Yeah. When you make a purchase, you don't have to pay that off for at least 45 days. So the interesting thing about that is now it's almost like
you're getting all the hit of buying with none of the negative feeling of actually.
Yes. And that's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love it when the Amazon package is sitting in their front door? It's like Christmas.
I don't. I hate it. But I'm kind of becoming a minimalist. I'm following like the minimalists and Gabe Bolt and other people that are minimalists. And I'm just like, get rid of them. I actually threw away 3 boxes of stuff yesterday.
Hey, dude. Okay.
I was just like, done with it. And I threw away something that was actually my wife's and I didn't realize it. And
oh no.
I had to go get it out of the garbage. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
But it's like, it's exciting for a lot of people. It feels like Christmas, you know, when there's this box and you're like, I can't even remember what I ordered, you know, and that's like a whole different topic for another day. But it's one of those things. What I tell people is like, okay, if I'm not anti-credit card, I'm actually like, I love the rewards. Mm-hmm. We're going to Hawaii.
You fly to Disney.
So a lot of the Disney trips were like, hotels were covered. We're going to Hawaii and we're not.
You're just paying taxes on the flight.
We're paying taxes on the flight. $5.20 per person.
Yeah. Oh,
so
wow.
like, anyway, so I'm not like a huge advocate, like, oh my gosh, you have to be using credit cards. I'm also not anti, like, you cannot. But for me, the answer is, if you are going to use credit cards in your weekly budgeting meeting, I love that you said you do it weekly. That's what I recommend too. In your weekly budgeting meeting, pay them off every week down to 0. And if you have a balance, it's a lot harder. So it's like, in that situation, I definitely recommend just using your debit card. Once you
get a coach to help you pay it off.
Yes, exactly.
Make a plan to get rid of the debt.
And if you decide to use a card later on, again, I'm not for or against it, but if you do, you have to pay it off every week. The other issue with credit cards is you see your bank account balance and you're like, oh my gosh, we're halfway through the month and we still have so much money. But it's like, no, you've got a bunch of money on your credit card you have to pay off still. Yeah. So when you pay it off weekly, you just get like a more realistic snapshot of where you are, which I think is huge, because then mentally when we see what's in our bank account, it's like, okay, it's not as high as I thought because we just paid off our credit card. Let's just be a little bit more realistic about how much money we have left, because that mental aspect of budgeting is so important. When you see a big number in your bank account, it's like, hey, we're good. Like, we actually have more money than we thought. We're in a good spot. Yep. Knowing where you are is just, again, going back to the facts. When you have the facts, you just make better decisions.
Yeah. Do you ever, sorry, this is kind of a tangent. do you ever advocate for people to have multiple bank accounts? So just example, using myself. So I've got 2 rental properties, and I don't know why I did not think to do this, because my bank account always would look huge because both my rental properties and my personal loan and everything was all coming in and out of one bank account. So I'd look and there'd be like, because obviously you need more than just 1 month in a rental account, because what if you have a tenant turnover and whatnot?
Yes.
So I'd look at my bank account and I'm like, there's $30,000 in here in my normal just spending account. Like I've got my savings account, and then I've got a separate Fidelity account that has my emergency fund and investments and stuff, right? So that's separated, but it was so hard to mentally be like, how much money do I actually have? Because this also has to be like 3 to 6 months of mortgage payments on these 2 rentals. Yep. And I don't know why I didn't do it till sooner, till my financial planner was like, hey, you should have a separate bank account, because it's also easier to keep track of all the deductions and expenses. So anyways, so I separated them all out, and now I don't care if I see $15,000 in the bank account for that rental property, because that's all for that rental property. Like when the roof breaks down and I have to replace the roof, it's coming out of that. When I have to replace flooring, it's coming out of that, right? It's like, oh, $15,000 actually isn't very much, right? Yeah. So separating the bank accounts, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm considering potentially like splitting the primary into 2 other bank accounts. One where it's like, hey, this is just bills, like my mortgage payment and my light bills, right? The things that are going to happen. And then the other bank account can just be, this is the flexible funds, right? For our normal spending, like groceries and stuff. Like, do you advocate that for people you teach?
Okay, this
question. Sorry, that might be too technical.
It's a great question, and hopefully this makes sense. But what I recommend, exactly what you said, any business accounts absolutely should be separate, just because of what you said, where when the end of the year comes, you don't have to sift through all those statements to figure out income versus expenses. Such a nightmare. So yeah, I love separating that out, like you said. So then at the end of the year, it's like, I already know revenue, I know expenses. This isn't a big deal. The other thing though, on the personal level, I actually recommend putting all of your income into a high yield savings account. Oh. So where you can't spend out of that really. You could have, I guess, like auto payments or different things, but what I want this to just be, your money's just sitting there, ready to be used in some way. And then at the beginning of the month, you're going to have an auto deposit into your checking account for a specific amount.
Those specific.
So now what this does is a few things. Number one, if you ever have extra money go into your account, think bonus, overtime, tax return. That money's not sitting in your checking account ready to be spent. It's sitting in your savings account ready to be deployed in however you want. Pay off debt, invest. Maybe you do want to go buy something with it, and that's okay, but you have to make a conscious decision. You have more control
because it's separated. Yes. It's not in your normal money.
Exactly.
It doesn't get lost up in with your,
exactly.
That's
because
fascinating.
There's this thing called Parkinson's law that basically says whatever resources you allocate to a certain thing, they will all get used.
Yes.
So if the money's in your checking account, it'll get spent. And like, I know people know what I'm talking about, where it's like if it goes into their checking account, it will find a way to get spent. I don't really understand how or why, but it does.
Well, they do the same thing with your time. It's like,
yes.
If you have, like, I in church, I teach young kids music. And if I budget 3 hours for preparing for that, I spend all 3 hours. Yeah. If it's like, the rest of my week is so booked out, I only have 1 hour on Tuesday night to do it, somehow I can get it all done in 1 hour, yep. Right? It's like, if you budget more time for it, so time does the same thing. I don't know if it's called Parkinson's law for time, but
and it's more commonly used for time, but I've adapted it for money as well. Anyway, it's exactly what you said. If you budget a certain amount of time or money or whatever, you'll use whatever you allocate.
And if you put it into your primary checking account, your mind is going to think this is money that can be spent. You check your bank account and see and all that, and you're like, I've still got $4,000 or whatever it is. And it's like, we can afford to eat out more this week or whatever.
Exactly.
And if you control it, then you don't have to worry about it, because then you can know whatever money's in this account can be spent for the purpose that this account's for. I really like that. I might need to do that. Well, I don't need to. I need to do that.
I love it. And the other thing is, when you do get a pay raise, for example, in that example you said earlier with the lifestyle inflation, you don't automatically have lifestyle inflation now.
Yeah, because the same amount of money is still being sent every month.
But you can make that conscious decision. If you do say, you know what, like for us, we've done this multiple times in the last 5 years, our grocery bill has doubled. Like inflation is just, inflation's been crazy.
I thought you were going to say you had 6 kids. I was kidding.
But inflation has just killed us. Like,
it's brutal.
So what we've done is we've basically just every little while, it's like, you know what? We can't stick to our grocery budget. We've gone 2 months now where we've gone over. Let's add,
advocate.
$50, $100, whatever it is. And then again, that'll happen a year or two later. It's like, you know what? The price of eggs is now, it's not expensive anymore. But at one point when it was $7 or $8, we're like, we can't keep buying eggs on our current budget. We have to give more money to it.
But I want the audience to particularly pay attention to this. You're controlling that. And because it's not, I have budgeted to use 100% of my income. It's not like, oh crap, things were $100 more expensive. I have to put that on a credit card. It's we've allocated this. These other funds are for investing or whatnot. Or when we need to, we can decide we're going to move more of it for this purpose. Yep. And controlling your money in that way, tell me if that does not sound fascinating. Like, wow, can you see this for yourself? Like, tell me what you think.
And like it all has trade-offs, because when we do that, when we allocate money more money towards groceries, that does mean we're allocating less money towards vacations or towards whatever our goals are.
And because it's affecting your goal, you're incentivized to wait, is there something else we can do? Are we being improper? Are we buying too much of something we're not using or whatever? It
makes us think twice. It makes us have the conversation, my wife and I. Wow. And I like that, because the biggest thing for me is, in the end, I just want to be more conscientious about my money decisions. Like, that's it. It's not I tell my clients, like, I will beat this dead horse over and over and over, but I want to get it through your head. Budgeting is not about cutting back. It's not about restricting. It really is just about making room for your goals and helping us be more intentional about how we spend.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, full stop. There's nothing more to it. It's just, no more of this scarcity mindset about you spend too much, you need to diet. It's like, none of that. It's just, let's be more intentional with our spending, and let's make sure that our goals have room in our budget.
Well, because with the separate bank accounts, it's almost that concept everyone talks about of like paying yourself first.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And maybe even slightly different from that is you're now saying, I'm paying these bills specifically. Like, it's not even first, right? It's part of the plan. Like, I'm paying these bills by moving that money from the high yield savings account to your normal checking account. It's like you're literally choosing to pay for your normal groceries out of that. I mean, psychologically that feels different, and that's kind of empowering.
It does. And that's what's interesting, though, is the only thing that's really changing is just the way you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like, because I do think money is so emotional. Like, there's so much emotion attached to it, and unfortunately a lot of negative emotion attached to it, that I like, these little tactical shifts, like having a separate bank account, can create these mental and emotional shifts of, now it's like, okay, I really am controlling my money. I'm choosing to use my money to spend on these things and in these ways, as opposed to, my money just kind of flies out of my bank account each month and I don't really know where it's going.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by FinancialGinger. Hey, that's me. I'm your Utah-based independent insurance broker specializing in auto and home insurance. Because I work with nearly 25 different insurance companies, I'm not locked into just one rate sheet. I work for you, not the insurance company. We still believe in customer service. During regular business hours, a real human answers the phone every single time. If you want a second opinion on your insurance, email jacobinsuresutah@gmail.com or call or text me 801-216-8444. Now back to the episode. Well, I feel like I've kind of already asked you about some misconceptions and stories. I feel like we've kind of also done the teach, prove thing, unless you had thoughts on that.
I have one other misconception.
Yes, please.
So, and this is like a very loaded topic. There's such extremes on debt.
Love it.
Debt is like, you've got the, one extreme where it's like, debt is evil. Stay away from debt. Never get into debt. And then you've got the other extreme of like, in 2020, when interest rates are 2.5% for mortgages and stuff, it's like, use it all. Like, if you have available debt, you're dumb. And so for me, it's like, maybe I like to land somewhere in between. I think often the extremes just don't quite feel right. So I like to land in the middle for a lot of things. But on this, the way that I think about debt is like, why are you using debt? Like, let's really think about why and understand our beliefs about debt, because we all have different beliefs. My belief may be like, okay, debt is there just for me to, it's my emergency fund. I hear a lot of people say that. My credit card is my emergency fund. And so, it's like if something happens, at least we have the credit card. On the opposite side though, it's like you've got the people who are like, just cash for everything, which is also like probably not super
buy your
realistic.
house with cash.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, how realistic is that? Especially when, house prices here in Utah are just
insane,
outrageous.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like the question I like to ask people is, what are you buying with your debt? Are you buying an appreciating asset?
Yes.
Are you buying a depreciating asset? So cars, let's talk about cars for a second.
Let's talk about cars.
So the crazy thing about cars, so I worked in the auto industry right out of college. So I feel like I've seen kind of the behind the scenes, and it's very interesting. One of the tricky things about cars though is that if you go buy a new car, the depreciation in the first 5 years,
massive.
It's in the majority of cars, you will lose half the value, over half the value. So you buy a car for $30,000, 5 years later, it's worth 15. Unfortunately, at the same time, if you take a loan out for that, you've also been paying interest.
Yep.
So it's like you're using debt, you're paying interest on a depreciating asset. That hurts. Like that's painful, when you really think about it, but we've normalized that. In our society, that's totally normal.
Yeah.
There's nothing weird about that. And I'm not necessarily, again, I'm not saying
this isn't good or bad. It's awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Just understand it. And I'm not saying like you have to buy cars in cash. You can never, whatever. That's a personal decision. Like you said, this is just awareness.
Does my leverage align with my goals?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing for me is it's really understanding, what are your beliefs about debt? What are my beliefs about debt? What am I comfortable with? When I had those realizations about car payments and depreciation, that changed the way that I view taking a loan out for a car. Does that mean I'll never take a loan out for a car ever again? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to think twice about it. I'm going to be a little more aware. What kind of car am I buying? How does this car depreciate? Am I going to go buy a brand new car, or am I going to go try and find something that maybe is a few years old that's already had that depreciation happen? But then shifting away from the car conversation, what about just like consumer debt now? Vacations or eating out. I would never take out a loan to go buy a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Yeah, but you can now with Klarna.
And you can with Klarna.
Sponsor me. No, just kidding.
But like, that's what credit cards are. If you're going to let that sandwich sit on your credit card, you've taken a loan out for that and you're going to pay interest on that now.
Yep, 30%.
When you say it like that, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I would never do that. I would never take out a loan for a Chick-fil-A sandwich to go eat out. That's crazy.
But maybe have, if you look at the numbers.
Exactly. But like, would I swipe my credit card? Would I let that Chick-fil-A sandwich sit on my balance and pay interest on it? So just, again, that's kind of my misconception about debt, is just like, let's challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And again, like what you said, it's just awareness. It's not good versus bad. It's not right versus wrong. It's just, let's really be aware of what we're doing. What are my beliefs about debt, and what am I comfortable with taking out debt for?
Yeah. And
for me, it's like, my personal belief, if you're taking out debt for an appreciating asset, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I shouldn't even say it makes a lot of sense, but it's like, that's definitely more justifiable if you're using debt to grow your wealth.
Yeah.
If you're using debt, just for fun things because you're not willing to wait or to save up money, that's where it's like, definitely use caution there. Mm-hmm. Because in the end, would you be okay paying $20 or $30 for that Chick-fil-A sandwich?
Yeah. Well, and another way that I like to think about it, and this might be a little bit different, is also like cost per use, right? Like my wife, her grandparents, when they retired, they bought a motorhome. And for generally most people, that's a relatively expensive purchase, but they went to New York with other friends who are motorhomers. They drove to Alaska with motorhome. Like it was a thing that they did for several years. And when they use that vehicle, 10, 15 times a year on huge road trips, and it's this huge lovely thing, it's like, oh, well, even though this cost whatever it cost me, I have no idea what it cost, right? This was before I was born. it's suddenly really, really cheap. And it's like, okay, I have no idea if they bought it cash or if they leveraged debt, right? But it's like the thought process, like, okay, but I know other people that they buy a $200,000 motorhome, they use it twice in 5 years, and then they sell it for $115,000.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, the thing, again, it's about the priorities. Like if you know you're going to use something. So another thing that I like to think about as well is if you're not sure about something that's like bigger, like go find a used one on KSL that's relatively cheap. See if you're going to actually use it. And if you actually are using it, then you can go, like I had this one guy who's like, if I'm getting into a new hobby, I bought a chop saw recently for building a grow box for my wife. I built some grow boxes on our back porch, and it was a $50 chop saw. The thing is terrible, right? Like it's not a nice DeWalt one that's like $650. But I'm like, okay, if I've used it like 3 times, cool. That's like $15 per use, right?
Yeah.
And if it breaks, and I was actually using it, I'll buy it. But if it breaks, I'm not going to buy a new one because I didn't use it that much, and I'm not going to, right? Where if I went and bought a $600 one, I use it 3 times, it's now $200 per use. So that's I don't know, another way I like to think about making some of those decisions too, adjacent to this conversation.
I think the cost per use is interesting though, just because again, how often do we kind of get fixated on this idea of like, oh my gosh, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And so then we just go buy it. Costco, I think is the pro. It's like the master of this, because you walk into Costco and I tell people it's like, it's stuff that I never knew I wanted, but I've always wanted it my whole life. I just didn't know it. And like Costco has, whenever I walk in, I see stuff. So like,
ooh, a 65 inch ultra high definition TV.
Yeah.
And it's on sale. It's 40% off.
Yeah. And they hit you with those things, and they, like, again, it's understanding that mental and emotional side of it, where it's like, they know what they're doing to make me feel urgency to go buy that. So my rule is like at least 24 hours, I have to go home. Right. And if I wake up tomorrow and I'm still thinking about it, if I'm still thinking about it throughout the day, it's like, okay, maybe this is worth it. But for like bigger purchases, a car or something, it's not 24 hours. Like that's going to be a longer wait time for me. If it's something, the $50 chop saw, or the, for us, it was the Ninja Creamy. It's all over social media, and it's like, oh my gosh, I would love that. That's amazing. For us, like we waited, and once my wife and I, we were both just like, I'm still thinking about it. Like a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, it's like, let's just go do it. Like, let's just make it happen. And if we talked about cost per use, like we are probably under the $1 threshold for that thing. So it's like, now in hindsight, it's like, yeah, I feel good about that. It's been a fun thing for us. Kids are asleep. Like, let's go have our frozen treat for the night. But anyway, all that to say, I like the cost per use thing that you mentioned. Also, I think just establishing bounds and rules so that you don't have to make a decision every single time. Where it's like, okay, my rule is we are going to wait 24 hours if it's something in that price range of like the Ninja Creamy. If it's something and at least 24 hours, we definitely wait more a lot of times. Yeah. If it's something where it's like, is this just a social media fad? That was our big worry there, where it's like, it was all over social media for a while. It's like, are we going to use this a few times and then be done? But anyway, it's almost
like Dare. It's almost like the Dare, like you have to decide right now, I'm not going to do drugs. And if you don't, eventually it's going to get to you, right? If you make that decision, here's how I'm going to spend my money.
Yes.
If not, the marketing will get to you. Because marketing is effective.
Exactly. Yeah. And for me, it's also the decision fatigue, where if you have to make the decision over and over and over, it just gets so hard to be able to like do anything beyond that. Where it's like, it's like I have to go do all these other financial things now. It's like, I'm exhausted. I've been deciding over and over what I will and won't purchase, and what I'm like, I don't have rules. So having those rules, I think, can be so helpful, because then you don't have to make the decision over and over. Like you said, with the Dare thing, I already decided I'm not going to do drugs. So now I don't have to make that decision ever again, because I already did.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Man, I don't even know. This is awesome. I really like this.
I do have one more like client experience.
I would love to hear it.
Okay. So, and the reason why I share this is because I think a lot of people find themselves in maybe a similar situation. So this client, it was a couple making like really good money. I won't share like exact numbers, but like well into the 6-figure range. And they were living paycheck to paycheck and it frustrated them, but they weren't frustrated to the point of like, let's go do something about it. It was more just like, man, this is dumb. I work in a really stressful job. I work so hard. I bring in good money and we have nothing to show for it. What ended up happening though, is they got to a situation, they needed to buy a couch and they realized like they were buying it on credit. Like they were financing it through the company that they were buying it with. And just as they were doing it, they looked at each other and they were like, what are we doing? Like what we make so much money. We should not be doing
have to
this.
finance a couch.
And that's kind of like, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. That's when they reached out to me. But I think a lot of people can relate to before that. You know, it's like, it's frustrating and it's, you know, they're not seeing progress. They're just barely making it and it's stressful. But it's like, for some reason, as humans, we have to wait for that. What's that thing that's really going to put us over the edge? So they reached out to me. We got on a call and I didn't know this until a year later when I talked to them. They used legitimately their last money in their bank account. That's how they paid me. Like, and I had no idea. They basically used their last penny to pay me for my service. And we went through my program, talked about the goals. We got the budget set up. And what ended up happening is they went from this like frustrated, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to fix this situation. What ended up happening is they were like, people come to them now to ask them for advice. And they love talking about money. They love talking about like,
because they've conquered it.
Yes, exactly.
When you conquer something, it's exciting.
Yeah. And I think that shift of, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm frustrated. I'm stressed out. I'm financing a couch. And why are we doing this? Like, that's crazy. They had some credit card debt. They had, you know, student loans. They had all of it. And shifting that in just a short amount of time, 2 months later, people were asking them for advice. Like, is that crazy? You know, to have such a dramatic shift in such a short amount of time. What I did after I've had a few calls with them just to like check in and say, how are you doing? A year later, they had paid off their credit card debt, paid off their car. I think their student loans, if they weren't paid off, they were close.
Wow.
And then like their investments were growing. They were so pumped to be like, guess how much we have in our 401k, and we've started these other investments too. And
get that Roth IRA.
Yeah, exactly. The Roth IRAs and I think a brokerage account. Like they were just putting all sorts of money into investments, like just crazy amounts. And they even had some pretty big medical expenses come up.
Wow.
And they told me, they were like, if we hadn't worked with you, we absolutely would have been paying that off for years to come. Wow. They're like, we paid it in cash, like no big deal. Just crazy dramatic shift. And not every client experience is like that, where it's that massive of a dramatic shift. For them, they just really, the stuff we talked to, they took to it and they really like, they're doing their weekly budgeting. They're doing all the things we talked about. For other people, it's like, okay, it's maybe not quite as dramatic, but they're still seeing, you know, within a year, still seeing some big changes and improvements and confidence. I think that's one of the biggest things is like, when you go from stressed out and like, I have no idea what to do, then you go to this point of like, okay, I'm confident. I know what I'm working towards. I have my goals laid out. And even after, it's like, okay, after I work with Brett, I know what to do now. It's like, we know at least once a year, we need to have another goals planning meeting so that we know what's coming up over the next 12 months. And we adjust like our 2 to 5 year goals. Okay, what are we pulling into the next 12 months? What are we maybe now we're just like, you know what?
This isn't as important.
Yeah, it's not as important now. Or, you know, life has changed and now something else is important. And so I almost see it as like, let's kind of go through the process together once, and let's get to a point where now you can go through the process on your own again and again and again.
Wow.
It's budgeting.
Right out of a job.
Yeah, that's kind of my goal. It's like, I don't want to work with people forever. I don't want you to be paying me forever and reliant upon me forever, because if you are, I feel like I'm not doing my job. You're not. My job really, my goal is for people to become self-reliant, where it's like, I have the education, I have the information, I can do this alone now. And the fact of the matter is, we aren't taught these things. We aren't taught them in school. A lot of times our parents weren't taught, so they're not able to teach us, unfortunately. So for me, it's like, that's kind of my mission, is I just want people to know, like, what should I be doing with my money? How can I be confident with it in a way that's personalized, but also in a way that they can repeat it themselves over and over.
Yeah. That's exactly what I would hope for.
Yeah.
Wow. People will be, confident, control, and repeatable. Like, what else do you want from a coach other than that? To learn and get to where you can do it on your own. It's awesome. And it's similar. Now I won't go into that, but yeah, I love it. So if people have been listening and they're like, you know what? I'm a little bit mildly annoyed by living paycheck to paycheck, and I don't want to wait until the camel's back is broken by whatever straw it is. How can I get a hold of Brett to work with him?
Okay. So a few things. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there.
I'll put your links in the podcast description too. So check the description. Okay. I'll get it and put it in there too.
Okay. And I'll have my email, my phone number. Feel free, like, text me, call me, whatever. Just like, the biggest thing for me is like, let's just have a conversation. Like, let me understand where you're at. And I'm not going to push my service on you and be like, you have to sign up or else. It's more just going to be like, tell me where you're at. Tell me where you want to be. And I will tell you, yeah, that's something I can help you with. Or it's like, you know what, maybe you'd be better suited with somebody else. Or maybe it's like, you're really close. Like,
you might not need my help.
Yeah, you don't need my help. Just make a couple of tweaks and do this, because like, you can make this happen. So anyway, for me, it's like, let's get on a call. Let's have a conversation. I'm not going to like be pushy. Hopefully that's come across in this, where I'm not trying to force anyone into this. For me, if people are forced into working with me, they're not motivated to do the work. And if you're not going to do the work, you're not going to get the results. That doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing is, if people get the results, they have a hard time not telling their family and friends. And it's a win for you. It's a win for me.
Absolutely. Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. How are you managing your money? Do you need to talk to Brett? And we'll see you on the next show.